Hello there, this is Patricia Shanks, and this is Studio Shanks Sundays live at 5 on YouTube. The address is youtube.com/Patricia Shanks Voice. And this is Stuffin. You may have met Stuffin a couple of weeks ago. He visited with me in my live presentation that night. And apparently Stuffin has quite a following. So what is it they say? Never work with small children or animals. I tried to fluff my hair up so that Stuffin wouldn't steal all of my thunder. Anyway, this is talk on singing, learning to sing, things creative, and just some things that I would like to share that I don't always have an opportunity to share with students. Looking for those people who are receptive to these ideas and hopefully helping them with learning to sing a little bit better. And I have some sort of a presentation coming up here. I don't know what this is. Okay. Well, anyway, here we are. I'm still learning all of this technology, but this is such a wonderful opportunity to be able to share with you via live YouTube. So my promotion for today was, he's just going to sit there, he, she, I don't know, it's going to sit there and stare at us the entire time. It's kind of disconcerting. Anyway, the title of today's little talk is Learning to Sing a Rube Goldberg Machine. Well, those Rube Goldberg machines are those things where you drop a marble in and then it rolls down a chute and something else happens and something else happens and it knocks over some cards and then it drops into a bucket and all kinds of interesting things happen. Those are really fun machines. And I don't know if learning to sing is exactly like a Rube Goldberg machine, but I couldn't think of anything else that was similar to the process of learning to set up how to sing. So I that's what I called it. And I used to, in the old days, I used to promote my teaching, my practice as foundation-based training because there are a sequence of things that singers need to learn to do in order to be able to get just a nice, resonant, easy, comfortable acoustic sound that's uniform up and down throughout the range of the voice. And to me, and I'm not alone in this, I know, that should be the foundation of whatever singing you want to do. Well, I'm finding a lot that that's such an ancient relic of an idea. People just bypass it and want to go right to stylistic singing, which, nothing is bad, nothing is wrong. And sometimes people who jump right into certain styles of singing have chords of steel or are able to withstand the rigors of singing regularly without a real good foundation technique. But then there are a lot of singers who can't withstand that. And those are the people who would benefit by learning how to coordinate all of the various aspects of learning to sing, how to use the mechanism, the instrument. So what I wanted to do today is tell you some of the things that you need to line up in order to be able to get that easy, comfortable, resonant, regular, nice acoustic sound that's really your genuine voice. Okay, the elements, the basic elements are breathing. Breathing is the foundation of everything. And there are different approaches to breathing. I think the best approaches all arrive at one particular goal, and that's getting a low, full breath without holding the breath. I'm trying to think of all the different things that I should say here. A low, full breath that's basically an easy intake of air, and then breathing has three different components to it, and I'll get into those. A release of that breath along with the tone, a fusing, a melding of tone and breath. And we'll talk about how we can get into trouble and things that we need to look out for there. Then there's the right idea of tone, which is a tone that feels like it's placing. Some of these words in singing, placed, holding a note. Some of these words like placing and holding. I wish there were better alternative words, and maybe there are, but we don't want to try to force or place anything. We don't want to hold on to anything, because the minute you do those things, you're probably doing too much. Okay, this should be an easy process. It can be complex at first, but it should ultimately be an easy process to set this up. So placement of tone. You want to feel for most of your voice, and I would say even into the lower adjustment, which some people call chest voice, or into the upper head voice register, you want to feel a resonance in your face or mask area. Now that can be in different places for different people. Some people, for some notes, feel things way out the top of their head, or they feel things behind the eyes or across the nose, or tickling in the lips. Different places people feel these things. And basically, when you work with a teacher or with somebody who has a good ear, they can tell you if that sensation that you're feeling is correct, if that's the right thing. Again, it can vary from person to person, and that's why you want to work with somebody who has a good ear. Okay, so we have breathing, which is the basis of everything. We have, I just took a look at stuff and lost complete track of what I'm talking about. We have tone placement. Placement. We have the feeling of the voice resonating somewhere in the face and the mask area in the head. And then we have support. And now I touch on this over and over again in different ways because these are the three basic pieces. Support, you can't do one of these things without the other, hence Rube Goldberg machine. Support does not start to work for you unless you have the right idea of tone and a right use of the breath. You can try to cosmetically apply, I can hold or press or push or do any of these things, but you're really kind of you're defeated if you don't have the right idea of tone. There's nothing for that support, for that idea of breath that you have. There's nothing to connect the three of them. So it starts with knowing about breath, but then really it also starts with knowing about tone, because you can do breathing gymnastics left and right, but if you don't have the right idea of tone, that breath will not connect to anything. If you don't have the right idea of tone and breath, the support won't kick in, and all the faux FAUX support that you try to apply won't connect to anything. Now, there are ways of girding up to force out sounds, which I don't think are particularly pleasant to watch. I see singers all the time, and I can't watch a lot of singing shows on TV because I see things that make me hold my breath, and it's really difficult to watch when I know there are better ways of doing things. Not that the performances aren't interesting, sometimes really exciting and appealing, but the three basic elements need to be working in order to get a basic, uniform, resonant, acoustic, natural vocal sound, and probably a bunch of other qualifying words in there. So how do we arrive at those three things? The machine gets more complicated. Okay, for the right idea of tone, we'll start with tone. We'll go from the top down. For the right idea of tone, there are adjustments that you need to make with your face, with your lips, tongue, the chambers inside by the way you take a breath, the way you maintain space, the feeling of lift in this kind of zygomatic or sort of cheekbone region, and I call that sort of a mischievous, I know something you don't. If you have that kind of a lift in there, then you have a genuine right kind of smile that can actually help you enhance that and give you a nice ringing tone. You can't cosmetically apply a fake smile. That doesn't do it. Okay, so we have the adjustments of all of those things. And when I'm talking about adjustments, you don't ever hold anything. These things all have to be fluid. They all have to be free. When you drop the jaw, for instance, which is not, by the way, that only causes tension when you drop the jaw and release it from the hinge back here. You have to keep thinking about relaxing that jaw. Okay, you have to go back and revisit it. All these pieces, as we learn about them, and as you try to apply them, you have to keep visiting all of them until they all become natural. My students will say, that's so much to think about. Yes, And you can think about, we can't multitask, they've proven that scientifically, but you have to think about all of these things. You just keep going over, you keep visiting all of them until they all line up and start to comply. I say it's kind of like watching children at the beach. If you have several children at the beach, you have to look at each one to make sure they don't run out and drown. And of course, it's the one, oh, this is a horrible example, isn't it? The one you're not watching is the one who runs out and gets in trouble. So you just have to keep visiting all of these things so none of them run out and get in trouble. So you have the right idea of tone and how to set that up without holding or forcing or doing anything too much. Okay, it's a voice in balance. It's a little bit of everything so that nothing does more work than anything else. All of these things have to work together as one Rube Goldberg machine, if you will, or one machine. Okay, so much more to that because there's always more detail. Every vowel that you make, every consonant that you make has a certain adjustment in order to maintain that resonant tone. This is why people work with voice teachers, voice technicians. Then you have song coaches who, once the singing voice is in good shape, you do whatever you want. You can even not do the right thing as long as you know how to get back to the thing that will serve you the best way. There are all kinds of sounds that singers make, again, that are appealing maybe, but aren't acoustically perfectly, correct or wonderful. So what? Okay. But the job of a voice teacher who is a voice technician who is concerned about this is to help you get a comfortable, healthy, resonant, pleasing, even tone. Okay, she's going over that over and over again. All right. Right, Stefan? Never has anything to say, just nothing. So anyway, so you have that. Then with the breathing, okay, again, there are so many approaches to breathing. The basics of breathing are the intake of air, which should be just a natural breath, no clavicular, no high raising, no huffing and puffing, but just when you go to sleep tonight, get on your back, put a hand on your stomach, and just breathe naturally. That's the basic intake of air. When you do that, it seems like, well, that can't possibly be all I need to sing. That's just like nothing. Well, the very famous tenor Enrico Caruso once said, and I'm probably paraphrasing, it only takes as much breath as it takes to talk with a friend up close. And this was a huge tenor voice. This was the operatic tenor of the day. So it doesn't take much breath. It's how you use it and coordinate it with the rest of the instrument. So there's the intake of air. Then there's what I think the trickiest part of this machine is the suspense phase of it, where you stay in that what I call eternally mildly surprised condition without holding your breath. Right now I'm doing it. I wasn't holding my breath, I was using air. But people tend to take a breath and hold breath and push sound out, and then they feel like they're running out of breath because they're squeezing. You can sing when you have these things tied together. You can hold, sustain, release a tone for a long, long period of time. It's maybe counterintuitive, but it's actually very natural that way. So taking a breath, suspending a breath, and the release of the breath is the other thing connected with the tone. Doing those things requires a bunch of little detail-y kinds of painstaking work. But for those who care, it's worth it. And then support. Now, wow, support. This is a whole bag of trouble too. Support should not happen in this upper abdominal area, and this is not the diaphragm, okay? There are two things that I've heard recently. I hear one all the time, which is, I need to support with my diaphragm, and people are holding and pushing and squeezing, and no, it's not that. The diaphragm is a muscle that sits under your heart and looks kind of like this, and it flattens down, and when it flattens down, you get an expansion, hopefully, all around, and there are other... There are muscles, there's a displacement of organs, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on with that we really won't get into in this talk. But the diaphragm moves down, the ribs expand, and that diaphragm in that down position with the nice intake of air is what you need to sustain, to release those tones. Now, when that's coordinated, and that's coordinated with this, and you release that breath and tone, the real support, which feels like it's low in the body, kind of beneath belly button level, and you'll feel lifting sensations, maybe, excuse me, a little indigestion, all this breathing in the sides and in the back. That support will start to kick in, and you'll feel it. Once it's there, all of these things, once they're there in increments equal to each other, you can begin to enhance them. You can add to that support. You can add to that breath capacity. You can add to that resonant quality by adjusting all those other things, okay? But you can't apply these things cosmetically and really have it be the ideal tone. Okay, the other thing, besides people doing this and saying the diaphragm, that I hear all the time, or have heard recently, is how do I get that larynx to stay down? See, this is another piece of the puzzle. This machine has many, many little pieces. Okay, when you take just the right breath and feel the expansion the right way, there's it doesn't really go down, but in this little cartilage here, housing your vocal cords and your instrument actually, which is in here, you'll feel a little tipping. It rocks a little, what feels like lowering of the larynx. Okay, and I just did that, and it's actually enhancing my speaking voice right now, because I'm not thinking much about my speaking voice as I'm telling you all of this. But you can't just shove that larynx down properly. Now, with the base of the tongue, you can pull the base of the tongue back and push that larynx down. But that's an artificial, that's a cosmetic approach, and it doesn't give you the best tone. It's stressful. It's a strain on the instrument, actually. And it's not something that you can sustain all the way up and down your range. So those three things, those three main pieces are the main components of our vocal Rube Goldberg machine. Lots of little things where this connects to that, and then if those aren't connected, this isn't going to work 100%. But again, for those people who really want this sound and want the comfortable feeling of singing beautifully, it's worth it to spend the time to develop your Rube Goldberg machine. Now, Stefan has had nothing to say about this, as usual, but if you'd like to say hello to Stefan or say hello to me, please visit us. You can find me on Instagram. I'm Patricia_Shanks, or Patricia Shanks space. I don't know, you'll find me. On Twitter, I'm Studio Shanks. On Facebook, my page, please subscribe here, follow me, whatever the requirement is, follow, like, subscribe. On Facebook, my page is Studio Shanks Music. And Stefan doesn't have anything yet, but if I need to, I'll put a picture of Stefan up and you can all say hello to him, her, it. Okay. All right. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll be here again next Sunday. I hope that some of that was of help to you. Bye-bye.